The environmental stewardship is a really critical aspect of Tacoma Public Utilities and who we are. Having a healthy ecosystem helps serve as a first protection for the drinking water supply and is the responsible thing to do. And so the downstream fish passage is part of the necessary work to really provide and put back what our facility has interrupted, which is the right thing to do.
Welcome back to DAM, the official podcast of Northwest Hydropower. I'm your host, Austin Rohr, and I manage all things communications here at Northwest River Partners. If you didn't already know by now, we love salmon at this organization. Ensuring that salmon and dams can coexist is incredibly important to us, and it's important to our members too. In fact, many not-for-profit community-owned utilities in the Northwest aren't just there to serve up energy, water, and sometimes internet. They're also stewards of the resources in their backyard. One such member, Tacoma Public Utilities, is working on taking a big leap forward to support salmon by upgrading a non-powered dam under their ownership with fish passage. But that's all I'll say for now, because our guest today is going to tell the full story behind this incredible effort. And that guest is none other than Heather Pennington, who is currently serving as the interim superintendent of Tacoma Water, the municipal water utility underneath the TPU umbrella. Heather, thank you for being here today.
Thanks, Austin. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, it's absolutely great to make this happen. And something we like to do at the top of all these episodes is really just kind of talk about our guests, kind of introduce folks to who we're going to be discussing the issues with today. And so what I want to kick this off with is talking about your own journey and how you ended up at Tacoma and ended up eventually leading Tacoma Water as the interim superintendent.
Great. Well, I'm happy to tell you a little bit about that. And your intro actually inspired me to maybe start a little further back than I was going to. I'll just say I have a degree in environmental engineering and then went on to get my MBA while at Tacoma Water. But in my childhood, I grew up salmon and steelhead fishing with my dad on a lot of weekends, and also camping, and that really instilled in me a love for the environment, a love for stewardship of our natural resources, and led me to focusing on environmental engineering in my education, and just was really blessed to find myself with my first job out of college working for Tacoma Water, which is a part of Tacoma Public Utilities. And I actually started my career here with Tacoma Water in our water quality group, spending a lot of time actually working in our watershed and working on some of our land management. So it's nice how all these things are connected, and I'll answer your question a little more specifically, though, with respect to the interim superintendent. I've been at Tacoma Water for almost 31 years. And during that time, I've spent over the last decade serving as deputy superintendent. I was actually intending to retire last summer when our superintendent, Scott Dewhurst, left for another opportunity, and I was asked if I could stay on to provide continuity during the recruitment process, and I was really happy to do so, particularly at this very critical time for the Howard Hanson Dam additional water storage project and downstream fish passage project. We'll talk more about why this timing is really essential for this effort, but being able to serve in this role as interim superintendent right now with this really significant legacy project going on has been really meaningful for me.
Well, that's fantastic. And it is interesting, so many of these things do weave together, and a lot of people, I think, have a background, especially in this region, of understanding the importance of salmon and the value of them, and also respect the resource a lot from a lot of different perspectives. And also, too, it's interesting that you mention it because, yeah, absolutely, as a water utility, I can imagine there's a lot of talk about watersheds and things like that, which So many people I'm sure have seen like the little salmon. What would you call those even? They're not a sticker,
The
but
little
it's like a
oh,
yeah, like on a storm drain or something, for example. They've got
oh
those kind of things that
yes,
stick.
yes.
Yeah.
There, yeah, or there's either a sticker or a little emblem that's glued down,
Hmm.
or sometimes it's spray painted to protect
Yeah.
our, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
that interconnectedness is just really cool and really interesting how it ties into your own background as well. And as far as Tacoma Water goes, I mean, how does that work also for our listeners to understand? Because we have had some guests on from Tacoma Public Utilities, specifically from Tacoma Power, but we're
Mhm.
talking about Tacoma Water today, which is a little bit different.
Yeah, so Tacoma Water is a part of Tacoma Public Utilities. And Tacoma Public Utilities has Tacoma Water, you mentioned Tacoma Power, and we also have Tacoma Rail, which is a Beltline railroad down in the Tacoma Tide Flats. So Tacoma Water and Tacoma Power are part of the same organization. However, we provide different essential services to the community, not only within the city of Tacoma, but both of our service territories do expand beyond the city of Tacoma limits. And so we work very well together, but our focuses are different on the electrical utility and Tacoma Water. Our focus is drinking water or municipal drinking water. I should share just for clarification, stormwater, wastewater, those utilities are part of environmental services, which is part of the city of Tacoma, but not part of Tacoma Public Utilities, just to put a finer point on Tacoma Water's role with drinking water.
Yeah, and that was definitely something I wanted to get into is understanding kind of that difference between providing the water that comes out of the tap and then what
Yes.
happens to that water after it's been used for whatever purpose.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Tacoma Water is focused on that municipal use in providing drinking water, which is essential to all of our health, to our lives, and also for public fire protection and public safety as well.
And you mentioned the Howard Hanson Dam in that opening there. So I think we'll just
Yeah.
kind of jump right into that. When we're talking about Howard Hanson Dam, what does that exactly have to do with drinking water and Tacoma Water? What's the connection there for folks who maybe aren't familiar with that project?
Sure. So the Howard A. Hanson Dam is a U.S. Army Corps of Engineer facility. It is located southeast of Seattle in King County, and it is a earthen dam that is in the Green River, and it's located about 3 miles upstream from our Tacoma Water Diversion Dam. Uh, our relationship then with the dams, it's not a facility that we own, but it is essential to provision of our municipal water supply. Our only storage that Tacoma Water has of the Green River supply is behind the Howard A. Hanson Dam. And so both that dam, and I can talk a little bit more about that dam in a bit, both the Howard A. Hanson Dam as well as our diversion dam do block the Green River. Um, and that's an important piece to understand because we want to, in this project that we're speaking about, will help restore connectivity between the upper watershed and the Green River for salmon and steelhead, which is really essential to improving those populations and also to the southern resident orca in the Puget Sound.
Yes, and we're definitely big fans of the orcas too. I know that
Yes.
as a former Puget Sound resident, growing up not too far from Tacoma myself, I know that they pay a lot of visits to the area, and they're a well-loved celebrity there. So we will make sure they have
Yeah.
plenty of food.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Howard A. Hanson Dam, as far as management of our storage, it serves a variety of purposes. It's primarily a flood risk management facility. It is an earthen dam, and it protects the Green River Valley. It also is really important for ecosystem restoration, our municipal water storage, as well as fish conservation. And we partner with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers on a daily basis as far as sharing what our municipal water needs are. And the operation of the dam is managed to look at not only the flood protection, but also trying to help store as much water for our municipal uses as can be done. So it's a really important and close relationship between Tacoma Water and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers with the operation of that facility.
And one of the things that I don't think we have touched on yet is, while it does provide the flood control, it provides the water storage for drinking water, things like that. One of the things that it doesn't do is produce power. And so I think it's an important distinction. It's why we're talking today, is that Howard Hanson is a non-powered dam, and Tacoma Public Utilities does have involvement with power dams as well, but this isn't one of them, correct?
That is correct. It is an earthen dam, and it does not include any connection to power generation. It is not like the Tacoma Power dams, that is for sure.
And you mentioned as well that there isn't fish passage at the facility there, and that I imagine, historically speaking, that has always been the case. Was it just a matter of maybe, and I don't know if you have much of the history on this, but was it a matter of just it wasn't maybe thought about at the time that the dam was put together?
Yeah, I have some of the history on that. So I'll start by just sharing Tacoma Water began utilizing the Green River as our primary source of supply in 1913. And the Green River provides approximately 95% of our water supply to not only Tacoma Water within our service territory, which I shared is in 2 counties, multiple cities, including the city of Tacoma, also to many wholesale customers, and also to our regional water supply system partners of Kent, Covington, and Lake Haven Utility District. We created our diversion dam to take water from the river to use for the municipal purposes back then, and then the Howard A. Hanson Dam, believe it was constructed in the early 1960s, 1962, I believe. And your question about fish and the thinking about fish and the disconnection that those facilities create and lack of access to the tributaries in the upper watershed for spawning and for the salmon population, the initial thinking was Tacoma Water was unfiltered for a very long time, meaning we diverted water. It's a pristine water supply. And so the environmental responsibility with the forest management, wildlife management, all of that is really essential to protecting the water source itself. And there was some thinking early on that really strong populations in the watershed of fish might have a detrimental impact to the quality of the water. So it wasn't initially thought of as a concern, as I understand it, in those early days. But we've come to learn a lot more about the biology and the water quality since that time. And so I think early on, because we were unfiltered, it has something that's been a focus in more recent years.
And to just maybe understand the context behind that a little bit more,
Sure.
When you say unfiltered, you really do mean like the water pretty much came straight out of the watershed, and now I imagine that is filtered today.
It is filtered today, and yeah, that is what it meant, is that the water supply was of such a quality that we diverted the water. We do have up in the Green River watershed a well field that we would use for blending for turbidity management during times when the turbidity was too high. We'd add chlorine, we'd do corrosion control, add fluoride, and send the water into town, and that served us very well for a really, really long time. It was with the finding of cryptosporidium that we added the traditional filtration facility up at the watershed, which is a really important generational decision to provide us a lot of confidence with our water quality well into the future.
And so obviously understanding that, it does also help us maybe understand even better why now it's kind of a no-brainer a little bit, right, to start looking at fish passage and introducing those salmon back into those areas.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the work to restore the biological connection in the river around the diversion dam and the Howard Hanson Dam is work that's been going on for quite a long period of time now. There are many people over many years who've been working to see both downstream and upstream fish passage implemented on the Green River.
And that kind of leads me right to what I wanted to ask you next, which is understanding what is the value of the addition of fish passage at these facilities to Tacoma specifically, because as you mentioned, Howard A. Hanson being U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, I mean, some might look at that and say, well, why not leave it to them, right? But as I understand it, there's a really significant value to Tacoma Public Utilities specifically to pursue action on this project and be a partner and a steward of the resource.
Yeah, so Tacoma Water has been in partnership with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers with this project, going all the way back to and actually prior to 1999 with the authorization through WRDA, or the Water Resources Development Act, that initiated the work. Why it really matters to us is the environmental stewardship is a really critical aspect of Tacoma Public Utilities and who we are and Tacoma Water, for the Green River watershed and the Green River in particular. Dating back to when we were unfiltered and continuing today, having really strong programs around forestry, around coordination with the other landowners in the watershed, wildlife support, as well as support for the salmon and fisheries in the watershed, is all part of a really healthy ecosystem. We have various agreements that do have obligations related to that, but more importantly, having a healthy ecosystem helps serve as a first protection for the drinking water supply and is the responsible thing to do for the water that's so valuable for not only the salmon and other wildlife populations that depend on it, but also just for the health of region and the quality of the water that we get. So it's deep within who Tacoma Water is, environmental stewardship, and so the downstream fish passage is part of the necessary work to really provide and put back what our facility has interrupted, which is the right thing to do for our customers, for the region.
And there might be a bit of a disconnect there that some people hopefully won't have after listening to this podcast, which is that, as you mentioned, the work to providing people with clean quality water doesn't just start at the collection of the water, say at the dam or in a well or something like that, or just making sure that it's provided to people's homes. But as you said, it really does start with actually making sure that the environment that water starts off as is, rain droplets or whatever, all the way to the tap is actually of quality.
Yeah, it's a first barrier of protection, and it matters a great deal. We are so fortunate here in the Puget Sound area to have such pristine water sources and watersheds that are really wonderful habitats, juxtaposed to, say, water utilities along the Mississippi, where that watershed is fully developed and is a very different situation. And we are really we don't take it for granted, and preserving it is really important to the work that we do and the water that we provide.
I also would love to know from your own perspective, I mean, what do you feel the role is of utilities just even beyond Tacoma or the Puget Sound when it comes to providing stewardship to the environment that they are based in and that their resources are coming from?
I think it's essential that utilities are mindful of whether we're a surface water supply or a groundwater supply, we're diverting water, removing water from the environment to utilize, to move to people and businesses for use other than the place from which we pulled the water. And that is a huge responsibility, and we need to do all that we can to support the environment, to be aware of that impact, and to do work to ensure that the water is being used responsibly. And so, yeah, I think it's an essential part of the services we provide, and something that environmental stewardship is indeed an integral part of being a water utility.
Along those same lines, I'd also love to know when it comes to the customers of Tacoma Water, of the utility, do you feel that a lot of your customers are aware of the stewardship that the utility pursues? And if so, how is that received? I mean, do you feel like it's really appreciated in your community?
Oh, we actually do surveys on a regular basis to try to understand how well our customers understand many things about the service we provide, and environmental stewardship is a piece of it. We certainly think it's important for our customers to understand where their drinking water comes from, and to know that we're committed to the environmental stewardship. And so those who are newer to our service area may not be as familiar, but those who have been in our service area for some time generally can tell you where their water comes from. They're aware that it's filtered. They're aware of our environmental programs, and feel proud of that.
Oh, that's fantastic. And hopefully for the ones that are new to the area, they'll get to hear this podcast, right?
Yes, yes. And we have actually, over the last few years, had a really cool series in our social media highlighting some of our environmental work up in the watershed. So if you were to look at our Instagram page in particular, you'll see very cool pictures provided mainly by our staff who work there, showcasing a lot of the work that we do, which I think the care for it and the call to provide that stewardship comes through.
Yeah, that's awesome. We'll definitely make sure that we send folks that way after they get done listening to this, or maybe while they're listening to
Sure.
it, as long as they're not driving or doing something like that, that
Right.
a lot of
Yes.
podcasts people do, right? But
Right.
um, in any case, I think switching gears just a little bit, going back to this specific project and understanding just the challenges, the hurdles, the things that you were able to overcome to get it across the finish line and get to where we are
Mhm.
today. I'd love to know what went into the actual work behind securing the funding for this project. And as I understand it as well, there's been some big announcements that have taken place recently with regards to some of that funding.
Yeah, like I said, it's been many, many years going back into the late 90s. So many folks at Tacoma Water, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, our regional water supply system partners of Kent, Covington, and Lake Haven. Our federal delegation has been tremendous supporters and have worked very hard to help secure funding through the bipartisan infrastructure law, to name one program that has been very instrumental to this project. Our tribal partners. I'm going to leave someone out as the spokesperson for folks who honestly have been much more involved than me, but I'll just say the biological opinion in 2019 that was issued by NOAA, or the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, was really instrumental to putting a deadline for completion of this work. Must be done by 2030. And so that really helped with securing the funding. And then there are other partners as well. I'll just try to mention a few. But the National Marine Fisheries Service, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services, Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife. I mean, I think that the culmination of it is it's the result of a really important project for the region, with so many people locally, state, and then federally, kind of bringing federal attention and funding to a really important regional project. That's a pretty cool thing to see materialize. Yes, receiving the funding, particularly through the WRDA 2020 or 2022 authorization, really helped move us to have the dollars. For right now, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is completing the design phase, and there's the funding to initiate construction, which is going to be happening starting next year. So it's a really exciting time, and it's really accelerated rapidly. And there's a lot of energy and a lot of thanks to a lot of people who've worked very hard to see this come to this point.
Yeah, I mean, we're so excited to see this come to fruition. And, as you mentioned, it feels like the momentum is really starting to pick up. We're getting kind of a snowball turning into an avalanche right now, and it's fantastic to see.
Yeah. So many voices coming together and sharing the need for this project, and the critical restoration of important salmon and steelhead habitat, and how great that's going to be for those populations. And as we said earlier, for the southern resident orca, it's very exciting. It's very exciting that it's happening.
We also are so excited just to see, as you mentioned, a lot of partnerships coming together on this project, and Tacoma having the opportunity to work with so many different groups and so many different folks out there who are equally concerned about the environment and want to make sure that they're doing their part as well. I'd love to know just who some of those partners were and what it took to actually connect with them and make some connections with folks who maybe you've never worked with before, or who haven't always been, always aligned on everything you wanted to do, but we're happy to jump in and make this happen with you.
Oh, goodness. Well, we've been in this with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers from the beginning. And so, but through many changes in staff and just the collective work to continue through the ebbs and flows of this project has been great. And certainly the support of our regional water supply system partners, Kent, Covington, and Lake Haven, that's been tremendous. Absolutely the support of our Tacoma Public Utilities directors over the years, and currently Jackie Flowers, and the support of our local city council members, some of whom are part of our congressional delegation. There are, whether it's been, Patty Murray, Marilyn Strickland, Derek Kilmer, Kim Schreier. Goodness, I'm going to leave people out, and that's going to make me feel bad. Just our federal delegation has been fantastic, and for many years it's just been sharing the importance of this project, the necessity of funding it, including getting support from President Biden, and that was great. So, gosh, it has taken a lot of hands, a lot of voices, and a lot of partnerships. Are there ones that were unexpected? I don't know, but it feels really great when everyone comes together and sees the benefit.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm almost hearing from you, I think, is it sounds like there really wasn't anybody who wasn't on board. I mean, everybody sounded pretty enthusiastic and optimistic, no matter where they came from or, what side of any other issues they were on. When it comes to something like this, it seems like it was really all hands on deck.
Yeah, that is certainly my impression, in that there have been ebbs and flows over the years as the energy and funding has come and gone, and that of course, you need to dig deep at times to keep pushing. And a case in point, in our upstream fish passage facility that Tacoma Water installed was installed 20 years ago, and we're going to need to make, with great anticipation that we would begin using it. And yeah, it has taken a while to get to this point, and we're going to need to refresh that facility now. We're going to need to do some work on it to have improved worker safety and improve fish health and some improved efficiency. We're excited to be doing that, as well as reinvesting in some additional habitat work in the Green River itself to help support readiness for the movement of fish up above the dam, and then through the new facility that will begin construction next year through Howard Hanson Dam. So it's exciting.
And so, as you said, we start getting to work, it sounds like next year. What does come next at this point? And maybe when can we expect to actually see the project be completed as opposed to when it should be kicking off?
Yeah, so I mentioned earlier the deadline for completion is 2030, and every indication is that that deadline will absolutely be met, and that also includes the upstream fish passage facility that Tacoma Water is working on as well, so that the upstream and downstream fish passage facilities will both be done by that 2030 deadline. And so work is kicking off in earnest right now on design and to get in preparing for construction. So that will be happening beginning of that in 2025. So yeah, imminent.
Yeah, it's amazing. We're super excited to see that start taking place. And
Yeah.
I think I mean ultimately we're all excited to see some salmon in those fish ladders, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Um, Very excited to see the construction, and to just know that the salmon will be able to travel up and then return safely through the dam.
And also off the top of my head, I'm just wondering too, you mentioned salmon and steelhead. Do you happen to know, as far as the salmon that'll be returning to that area, what species of fish we could expect to see in the watershed?
The primary species of interest are the Chinook salmon. Those are the preferred salmon, as I understand it, of the orca. And so that's a huge population of focus. There are also pink salmon and other species that are going to benefit from these facilities. I wish I had notes from our fisheries biologist, but I do not. So
No worries, no worries at all. Well, as you mentioned, I mean, even just I guess you could say, downstream effect of having fish in some of those areas and the different nutrients and resources that they'll provide to the greater environment will obviously benefit other species as well, even if they don't migrate past those dams.
oh, absolutely. And the amount of habitat downstream as well as upstream in the tributaries, it's tremendous. And look forward to seeing what happens as the fish are returned to where they once were. So many, many years ago, and how that benefits the whole ecosystem in the watershed.
As far as kind of tying this together and looking at, again, that holistic approach to the environment and its impact on the watershed, are there other benefits that the Tacoma Water community could see as a result of this project moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, with this project, we're going to see Tacoma Water and those who we serve. We're gonna gain some additional water, 10,000 acre feet of water for municipal purposes as a result of this effort. So it's twofold. It is the restoration of fish to the upper watershed, but it also is going to produce additional water available for municipal purposes, and that's going to be also very beneficial for the region for all of the customers that Tacoma Water serves.
Yeah, it's not often. I shouldn't say it's not often, but perhaps it's not always the case that a project like this has kind of a win-win scenario for everybody involved. But super excited to see that this is one such case where that's the thing that's going to take place.
Yeah, yeah, indeed. It's going to be very good.
And I'm sure understanding Tacoma's relationship with not just Howard Hanson and the Green River, but other watersheds, other rivers around the region where there are other facilities, both non-powered and powered. I imagine that this isn't the end of Tacoma's stewardship when it comes to salmon and fish. Do you know if there's other efforts in the future that might be planned to help with the environment, help with fish, and ultimately, continue to see salmon and steelhead populations grow in the Puget Sound?
Yeah, I mean, the two that really come to mind are the complementary efforts that I mentioned with respect to Tacoma Water, refreshing our 20-year-old upstream fish passage facility. That's going to be a huge part, and it's integral to the work at Howard A. Hanson Dam. And also, the work on making improvements within the Green River to salmon habitat are key pieces of work that we're doing. Again, complementary to this particular project, but it's part of our long-term commitment to work on fish habitat and our care for the environment. So we don't have those are big efforts, and those are the focus. Between now and 2030, what's beyond that? We will see. I'm imagining as we go forward with these efforts, we're going to learn more, and it's going to inform us more on what additional work that we can do within the Green River and Green River watershed.
Well, it's fantastic to hear, and something that I know ourselves and many others are looking forward to, and really excited to see what the results are. And like you said, see what we can learn as well, and understand, what this all means, what kind of model it could provide for other watersheds in the region. And it's a really fantastic project. And as you mentioned, there's a lot that people can look forward to on social media. It sounds like there's some great stuff on Instagram, particularly. So, for people who want to learn more about Howard A. Hanson, they want to follow the project and see what progress is being made. Where is the best place that people can go? Is it Instagram, or are there some other places that they should head to as well?
Yeah, the Instagram is really less about this particular project and more to see features of what we do within the Green River watershed with our environmental programs. For folks who are really keenly interested in the work at Howard A. Hanson Dam and the downstream fish passage project, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, the Seattle district, on their website, they actually have a project page that's dedicated to this project, and it is up to date. It is very well written, and that is where updates on the project, as well as news releases and other things, are all captured in one place. It does not have a catchy, quick website name, but if you were to go to the Seattle District website for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, you will find a project page for this project.
That's awesome. Well, yeah, we can definitely do our best to make sure we get a link included in the episode description of the podcast. So if folks hear this and want to head directly there, we'll try and make it as easy as possible for them.
Oh, that's
Um,
great.
yeah, absolutely. We're winding down here on time, and again, so thankful that we were able to have this conversation today. But before we start to kind of wrap up here, I just want to know, is there anything else you want people to know about the project or Tacoma Water or anything else that you're working on that you want to make sure people understand after hearing today's discussion?
I think that just to emphasize some of the things that we've already talked about, is the regional significance of this project, the downstream fish passage project at the Howard Hanson Dam. Uh, so highly anticipated. We're excited that we're right on the verge of it actually happening. The importance to not only municipal water, but more importantly to the restoration of the salmon habitat and the support for the southern resident orca. Just just knowing that this is happening and that the whole region can rally behind this important project is a very cool moment in time, and we're really happy to be a part of it, and just so grateful for all the folks who we've already talked about who came together to make this happen.
Absolutely. And we're so glad too that you were able to be in this role and be able to talk to us about this today. It's really excited to hear all the work that's being done. And as an organization who includes Tacoma Public Utilities as a member, we're so proud of the work that you all are doing and really excited to see where this goes. And as we wrap up the episode here, there is one bonus question that we always tack on for every one of our guests, and for those guests who have listened to a few episodes, they sometimes know what's coming, but most of them don't. So this is kind of our opportunity to put you on the spot a little bit, but also wrap up by kind of starting or ending where we started. And so the way we do that is we allow um, our guests to really speak more to themselves and tell us more about who they are and the people that are behind the incredible work that we're doing in this region. And so the way that I do that for everybody is I just give everyone this opportunity at the end of the podcast to share some advice with us. And oftentimes what I tell everybody is it's not necessarily about advice related to the topic or related to work or anything like that, but just let us know something really important in your life, something that you live by, or maybe something recently that stuck out to you that you've been trying to practice more. And yeah, with that, I'll let you have the floor and excited to hear what you have to say.
Thank you, Austin. I think what's coming to mind for me as I've been reflecting on this project, it has really weighed on me how many folks have been involved over the years, and um, the changing of hands, the passing of the baton, however you want to say it. Um, and that takes trust, it takes sharing of knowledge, it takes bravery to step into something of great significance when it's underway. And that can cause stress and trepidation for people. It can also be a moment to really, we've been talking about throughout this whole podcast of just collaboration and coming together and trusting in each other to lift each other up collectively to get something really important done. And personally, in particular, I've been going through some health things and and I'm in a newer role, and I have had the great fortune to be supported by folks who are learning as well and who stepped in with great competence and curiosity and willingness to do new things and to learn. And I think that my advice is to lean on others, trust others, and let people bring what they know and really shine, because together we can get some pretty incredible things accomplished, and the weight doesn't land on any one person.
I love that. I think that it's so important, not only in the work that we do, but in our everyday lives and the things that I think so many of us hold near and dear, that we do collaborate and that we never carry our load alone. So, yeah, really appreciate that advice a ton. Thank you for sharing that
Yeah.
with us.
Yeah, thank you for asking.
Absolutely. And thank you so much again for being here. It's just an incredible opportunity to talk about this project, to get to share this great news with our listeners and with fans of Northwest River Partners and the Dam podcast. And I'm super excited for what people are going to get to see in 2025. So thanks for being here and sharing this story with all of us.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me and for featuring a different kind of dam and a different kind of project and a water utility. I appreciate it.
I'm so grateful that Heather was able to join DAM today to share her wealth of knowledge, experience, and personal ties to the work Tacoma Water is doing to give back to the community and restore salmon returns on the Green River. I'd also like to reiterate what a monumental success the Howard Hanson Fish Passage project has been, bringing together a broad coalition supported at the local, state, federal, and tribal levels. So often, guests on the Dam podcast emphasize how critical it is to work together and set aside differences to accomplish our most ambitious goals. Today's guest is doing that work, and we hope many will look to this example as one to follow. Following today's discussion, if you have any questions or concerns of your own, you can always send those our way by locating our contact form on nwriverpartners.org or by sending an email to info@nwriverpartners.org. I promise you that we really do take the time to read your emails and have those conversations, so please never hesitate to reach out. We also strongly encourage you to head on over to nwriverpartners.org/take-action and sign up for our newsletter. We'll let you know when and how you can get involved without crowding your inbox full of unnecessary spam emails. As I do at the end of every podcast, I always kindly ask that you submit your positive reviews on your favorite listening platform and subscribe to DAM to help boost our rankings and grow our audience. You can also just go ahead and share DAM with friends and family. Let them know why they should listen, and hopefully they'll come along for the ride. Lastly, always be sure to turn on notifications so you don't miss future episodes of the podcast, which arrive every other Friday. And you can always find us on social media at NW River Partners on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, and X. I hope you all enjoyed today's podcast episode, and I look forward to talking to you on the next one. So until next time, see ya.